So have we any questions for any of the panellists? Whilst you're thinking, Ben, that connected toothbrush of yours, tell me some more.
I had a feeling this would come. You want to know all about it?
I want to know, yeah, I do actually, yeah. Only very briefly, because I'm sure we've got lots of more important questions, but I am intrigued.
I've actually seen that this is a pure coincidence, or synchronicity, as some might call it. When I put this chart together and I saw we're in the age of connected toothbrush, I remember just a few weeks before I've seen a toothbrush that communicates via Bluetooth to probably your smartphone, and it tells you how long you've been brushing for and so on. I don't know if it measures anything else, so I'd be quite interested to see if there are any more sensors in there that measure pH value or something like that. That would be really cool. But all I've seen so far is the Bluetooth connectivity with toothbrushes.
Good.
I'm sure there's good opportunities there to put this into buildings at some point.
Okay, I'm glad we cleared that up. Have we any questions at all? Oh, sorry, we'll start over there if we can, please. Thank you.
I had a question for Mattieu about your carbon footprinting and that big Geofire project, which looks really fascinating. You're looking just at your scope 1 and 2. You're not incorporating tenant data in that, or are you incorporating tenant data?
Well, to the sense that it's data that, all the energy use in the building, so including the energy use of the tenants, yes.
Including the energy use that the tenants are contracting to purchase with the supplier, or just the data that just the energy that you supply to them, and then.
No, the full building. So that's what we try to achieve via Geofire project, the full carbon footprint of the building. So not embedded carbon, but electricity produced on site, but also electricity and carbon connected to that by the energy use of the tenants.
So everything that the tenants are using as well?
Yeah. Which
really is kind of scope 3 rather than scope 2 for you, I think, technically. Which is great, but it's semantics, but it's very difficult, I think, to get that tenant data. It's quite a lot of work to get that. It's quite interesting that that's a new approach. That's what I want
to address. So often you don't have the data from the tenants, of course, and
yeah.
in multi-let offices it's quite easy, of course. You do often have the data, but on the other asset classes, and whether it's logistics, where the tenant doesn't provide any data, or with multifamily, it's even more difficult, I'd say, for privacy reasons. But we try to come to a full carbon print of our portfolio. Yeah.
So will you model some of that? Sorry, I'm going to get into it. So you'll model some of that.
Yeah.
Okay. My other question was, it's just the energy. So you're not incorporating water.
No, this is
in
all
the carbon.
About carbon.
It's just, so obviously water has carbon implications as well, but you're just looking at the energy and the implications of energy, carbon from energy, not carbon from other areas of the
it's just
the
carbon,
building use.
And we still use GRESB, of course, for the actual use of energy, and for water use, for waste produced. So all that is important to us as well. But specifically for the carbon
for this project,
we needed something additional to that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. We had another question somewhere.
Hi, I'm David Short, currently with the Crowds, but previously with GE Capital Real Estate, so did a lot with the BBP. Question for Carl. Really pleased to see the Managing Agents Forum set up. I just wondered, for your clients who are not BBP members, do you see much interest in the work you're doing through that working group and what you've got on the slide now, amongst others who are, say, not BBP members, or not so interested, not maybe big enough to have internal sustainability people?
I would say it depends on the client. I mean, there are a number of clients who are very interested in the work that BBP are doing, and then in turn the work the Managing Agents Partnership are doing. But it really depends on their overall approach to sustainability. What we're hoping through the outputs of the partnership is to ensure that all clients are aware of the benefits of implementing sustainability, and maybe even do it by stealth for those who aren't quite as sort of in tune with the more forward-thinking clients that we work with.
Okay, I think we have time for one more question. Oh, thank you, Debbie. Always.
Hi, it's a question for Ben really on the data. Just to make sure you have a question as well. It's really fascinating what you're saying about, you know, getting all the data from the building and analysing it. I know there's a few different companies doing it in different ways, but have you looked at any typical costings to get the equipment installed, collect the data and manage it, especially looking at Carl in terms of this would be managing agents' fees to manage and monitor it?
Yeah, actually, it's really interesting. I just had a discussion with a German fund actually last week who were saying, okay, this actually looks sensible. That was on our fees, and we weren't talking about hardware yet. And then he was wondering, can I, you know, put this to the tenants? And obviously, you have to create a business case for it. I'm sure it's possible to do that. We had a discussion with another building in Germany, in Munich, where there's about 100 different tenants, multi-use commercial, as big as you can go, and every month when they put out the service charge, they have 50 people contesting the service charge and 20 threatening legal action. And that is Germany for you probably, because they all just do it by floor space, by square meters, and people are unhappy with it. So that brings the hypothesis that more granularity, more transparency leads to more benefits, more buy-in from the tenants. And then in the end, I think if you add a euro or a pound, as it were, a few pounds per month, it's not an issue for them if they see what it's used to. You always have to distinguish between the software and the hardware. The software is probably the smaller part of the cost today. Hardware still tends to be expensive. You're still looking at £100, couple £100 for a meter, and then the gateway and so on. But as I said earlier, we're working with one supplier. It's new to the market as well. They can literally do that for a few pounds per metering point. They're selling it for tens of pounds because that's where the market is right now. But you will see a rapid decrease in costs over the next few years. And it can only be for the better for all of us.
Good. Thank you. Okay. Oh, no, we'll take one more question at the back there, sorry.
Thanks. Ben, another question. How do we avoid, under that scenario of hardware connected to the internet, feeding data to an online platform, how do we avoid the target scenario of, you know, a firm being hacked through one of those systems, losing a third of its share price, the chief executive ultimately being fired? How would you assure me that that hardware collecting the energy data is not going to just provide an entry point for some spotty 15-year-old somewhere in Surrey to hack into the bank and take all of our customers' data?
I live in Surrey, so I take personal offense. Wasn't it an Essex? So I've got two answers for that. Actually, three. Number one, I don't have all the answers. Number two, that the question was actually, so when I was at Google, one of the other things I was doing was working on Google Power Meter, which, if you want, is a predecessor to Google Nest and all these energy things. And at the time, we were getting energy data from the utilities, the energy companies, storing it and then sharing that with consumers and the widget that sat on iGoogle. And the question at the time was already, can this be hacked? And if it can be hacked, what can happen? And the answer was, yes, it's on the internet, and so it's digital data, so it could be hacked, but you know, this is just read-only data, so there's no control element in there yet. So we won't actually, we're safe, and we're working on all of this, and we have all the systems in place. Obviously, there's never 100% safety, but you know, it's only read-only data anyway. So how much can people glean? Now, I think that changes slightly as you get more granular data, and you can detect or identify patterns, and people will be able to do that and see who's in the building, how they're using it, and so on. Obviously, in a residential space, that's quite applicable. Is somebody in or out? I think the real challenge will come when we have the controls connected to it. That's something that's already happening. You already have end-to-end systems, proprietary and expensive and not really scalable, but we'll see more and more control happening and being connected to that, and that's when it becomes a bit and a bit risky. The only two things I can say to that is, number one, you obviously want to work with the latest technologies, mechanisms, protection levels, and so on. And that has to start with your data center, with your provider, with how the data is transferred. So you're talking HTTPS, SFTP, so for secure, obviously, how the data is entered and so on. There's a lot to be done there. And by the way, a lot of the big corporates have been hacked and they don't even know that they've been hacked. And that was a big thing we had at Google also, is that we recognized we were hacked. quite late in the game, and I think it's happened to a lot of people all over the place, and the targets and so on are just the things that surface. So I think there's a big opportunity for us to make that as safe as possible, and one anecdote in that context is that we often have, and we're obviously working on that and looking to be as safe as possible. One anecdote to that is that what we very often get that question. It's a very relevant question, absolutely something to be aware of and work on. So we would get that question from investors, from data owners and so on about how safe everything is. And we give them that answer, yes, it works, and here and there. And then when we ask for the asset data, for the consumption data, it's sent as a clear text Excel file in an email. That is as unsafe as it can get. And when we ask for them to transfer their data or to their meter supplier, they send it as an FTP feed, which is as unsafe as it gets. It's not even encrypted. And then a similar thing on the password side of things. Very often these are shared or these are obvious and so on. So what I'm saying here is there's quite a few obvious things or things that should be obvious that we're getting wrong today that can help you get to the 80% level of protection, and then the remaining that we can already do, the remaining 20% is all about data center level and enterprise level security that we absolutely have to implement for that.
Good. Okay, well, thanks for that. And Justin, I take it being sacked as a CEO is a personal issue for you right now. Thanks to all the speakers this morning. Lunch is served outside. I think we can all agree that we are now as well connected in this world as a toothbrush. So see you this afternoon.